Look at this. Jesus Christ. This poor girl, she finally got out of the outfit. She's still on her phone the whole time. Misinformation is no longer wearing her sash and her tiara. They've given up on that entirely. And Gorka is following Don Jr. around like, okay, sorry. There's a gold is real money ad. Hold on one second.
Trump. Listen, I've been listening to
Gee, I don't know why DeSantis is
this all day, and I'll be the first Trump to. I'll be the first to know, guys. I'll be the first to ever complain about hearing Trump, because I was trying to record. I'm saying, man, I kind of like it, but they're loud.
Okay, hold it. We're doing questions from
But shit, they're loud.
the audience.
Okay.
Right now, Ben.
Okay, I'll take the questions. Stop saying my fucking last name all the time. God damn.
Berquam, get to introduce where are they from, and the question goes to Don Jr.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it. Let's. This guy looks amazing.
All right, sir. Okay. All right.
All right. I guess I got. I mean, okay.
Patrick Mulvey, Long Valley, New Jersey. My
Patrick Mulvey, Long Valley, New Jersey.
question from Mr. Trump, or Zeb, Dr. Gorka, if he wants to answer it, is President Trump had 4,000 appointees, and normally presidents do that, but it's the next 4,000 that stab you in the back. Who's working on this issue now?
All right. You're right. That doesn't make any sense. President Trump appointed 4,000 people, but it's the next 4,000 that stab you in the back. So who's working now on that next 4,000? Because the last 4,000 stabbed him in the back because hashtag the best people.
For the Trump 47 candidacy.
Okay, hold on. The question is, you get the 4,000 local appointees, but then you have the administrative say you got another like 1 million.
Yeah.
Next 4,000. Don Jr., what's President Trump in his next term going to do about the administrative state?
Listen.
Well, I'm gonna get rid of guys. We're gonna get rid of the deep state. Yeah, guys. I got guys who does it because that's what my dad does. He knows business. He knows people. He knows people in business. He knows the best people. He's gonna bring in the best people. Guys.
I think that's number one. You got to drain that part of the swamp, and that's.
Yeah, that's the last time he was draining a different part of the swamp. He was because someone had told him that there was apparently treasure buried in it. And then he was like, nope, there's no treasure. It's just a government job. All right, well, fill it back in. Just pour the water back in. I give a shit. Next time, it's not so much drain. We should have said drain the whole swamp. And I think that was the thing. We were just diverting some swamp water and then creating a dam which created a greater pool of swamp in another area. That wasn't a good strategy.
What people didn't understand, and perhaps that was
that's what do you mean people? You mean your fucking dad?
the one thing we had coming in from the outside. You assume, well, this person's sort of on our side. You don't realize that in politics, the capital is the favor you get later. So you'll snake your entire agenda to have someone owe you something later.
I see. So all Republicans who work for Trump are snakes. That's what it is. The snake he was warning people about when he would read the snake. All right, that wasn't Democrats. That's not Joe Biden. That's not the squad and the woke mafia. No. It's the rhinos. They all attacked him from the inside. If only he could have been the Republican president without the Republican Party. And that's why he's going to run third party.
And it's not just the guys that you put at the top, because if you could put the best guys in the world at the top, but down below when they're working against you and you have the Obama appointee and you say, they're good enough, they're fine. No. They're doing what they can to snake an agenda. You saw it throughout. And again.
Did you? Who? You mean Bill Barr? You mean Jeff Sessions? Who was snaking the agenda? And if it was, why isn't Trump coming to the defense of any of his cabinet members who weren't able to do any of the shit he said they were going to do? Simply when apparently he's blaming the people below them for not carrying out the orders that they are mandated to carry out from cabinet leaders.
That only works one way, right? Because the Democrats have done a great job of
Thanks for
installing people at the top of every institution.
Right, because we know how things work and we actually want them to function, and you guys don't give a shit, and your dad would rather just golf.
The door kickers at the FBI are
Oh my God.
I hear it every day from them. But the
yeah, well, technically, didn't the quote door kickers at the FBI kick in your door, according to you? Didn't they? Isn't that who came to Mar-a-Lago? The people who, I guess, pick up suspects and do search warrants? Wouldn't that be the door kickers? Now, again, most of the doors are kicked by U.S. Marshals. Rarely do FBI agents do the door kicking themselves.
The institution itself is corrupted because the leaders...
You mean the guy your dad put in charge?
Are totally gone. They're beyond repair. But again, if you're one of those guys that's the door kicker that is for Trump, they whisper it because if someone hears it, that's their job. It's their life.
Yeah, they're all, you know what, guys, they can't even say it. They can't even say they're for you, but there's lots of them. Trust me. Yeah. If you don't believe me, ask my Canadian girlfriend. She's totally hot and smarter than you guys, and she's already graduated from the 8th grade, and she's taking college classes, and she's a super hacker, and she's hot. But she doesn't like taking pictures because it's against her philosophy.
Livelihood. They're the ones that are being forced to arrest, a practicing Catholic, someone who's pro-life at gunpoint.
Yeah, that's what they do. That's they're just being forced to arrest practicing Catholics. Apparently, under orders from... What religion is the president currently? Yes, a practicing Catholic, it would seem.
But not do anything about the guys they want to go after.
Praying the rosary.
Yeah, not one.
Yeah, not for praying the rosary. Not for physically shoving someone, which is why they're big, because they physically put their hands on someone, violated their civil rights, and were violent. No. For praying the rosary. Instead of using beads to count, they were using how many times they could kick a person.
Not being able to go after the guys that run through a Christmas parade or start the Summer of Love riots for,
By the way, that's because the FBI doesn't handle something like that. That's a state crime. The guy who drove, he's talking about the guy in Wisconsin. That dude didn't even get a fucking pass. That guy's he's going for the long haul. That guy is checking into the cement condo and never checking out. So the idea that somehow, like, the FBI lets that guy slide, but they go after some dude who's violating somebody's civil rights.
It's just, well,
It's disgusting. It's nonsense, and we can't let it happen. And also nonsense, and we can't let it happen. Don't let it happen, and it's happening. But it's guys, and you can't make it up.
Steve, I was told it was the Summer of Love. As there were buildings burning in the background, as people were getting hit in the head with bricks.
Nothing to see here.
It was wonderful. It was beautiful.
Oh, you mean when your dad was president?
Everyone.
Oh, you mean because of Derek Chauvin and 3 other police officers being involved in the death of George Floyd, who more than likely would have lost their job if Trump had kept the cops program? That's right. If Trump hadn't got rid of the cops program, Chauvin could have been bounced, and more than likely George Floyd would be alive right now. But hey, who's counting?
Needs a pair of stolen Gucci sleds because that is equality. That's what we were told, at least.
Steve, so hold on. What are you going to do at NSA?
Yes, apparently, a little subtle. The equality line is in there because the idea is that the theft is all black.
Hold on. The group that sat there because of the interagency process and took a perfect phone call.
What makes a perfect phone call? Well, if you were trying to threaten someone in a way that wouldn't legally get you into trouble and you believed you had done it, you would refer to that phone call as perfect. I said everything without saying anything. You know what I mean? Which is exactly what he was doing. The idea was he can hint at what he needs without actually going there and tell him Rudy Giuliani's going to fill you in. And what Rudy was going to do is, look, Rudy brings the threats in person. However, the polling pointed to the fact that Trump was not going to win. And so Zelensky just said no. While he was trying to be nice, he was like, nah, we can't do something like that because it's not true. And that slowed the roll. And I don't even know if Rudy ended up getting to carry that message.
And got Donald J. Trump impeached over Ukraine and the corruption in Ukraine. What are you going to do as National Security Advisor to clean that rest up?
Let me tell you a little.
Yeah, Gorka's going to be his national security advisor.
Story that I've discussed from my first 6 weeks in the administration. So I go to the SCIF, I go to the National Security Council meetings in secure facilities. This is the top of policy making in the most powerful nation in the world.
Right, under the Trump administration. It is not indicative of the other people, but
With secure VTCs to the CIA, DIA, outstations in Kabul, you name it. And I watched for about 2 weeks as we'd sit there on the China policy or the ISIS policy. And nobody, for an hour and a half, nobody would mention the president's name.
Wow.
Or what the president wanted to do with regards to China or ISIS. So after 3 weeks,
wasn't that your job?
I decided, okay, I'm the guy with the funny accent. An hour into the meeting, I'd say, excuse me, do you know what the president said yesterday in Warsaw? Do you know what...
He can say whatever the fuck he wants, but unless he gives a directive to intelligence, they're not going to take his public statements as policy unless he states it's fucking policy. It's not their fault. He didn't want to do his goddamn homework and thought of himself as a TV president.
What the president said about China, that's the deep state. My recommendation...
No, it isn't. It's a lazy asshole, second-generation rich kid thinking that his blather is law.
Is the following. I said this originally, it never happened. You need 24 guys who are hard bastards.
Yeah.
I'll volunteer in teams of 2 who every week go from department to department. We talk to the cabinet head and we say, Mr. Director of the CIA, what have you done in the last 5 days for the president? And if we get the wrong answers, we tell the president and they are canned.
All right. Hold it.
Oh, yes. We're going to tell on you. Basically, Gorka thinks they need bully hall monitors in the government. And by the way, wouldn't it be the cabinet officials that Trump put in there meet with him regularly? If he's not conveying an actual policy, how is it their fault? If they're doing effectively maintenance because he's given them no new direction or has no solution to speak of, why is it their fault?
Hold it.
That's what's gotta happen.
Let me ask
That's what gotta happen.
Don Jr. We have a tough primary ahead. We got a brutal general election. Everybody in D.C., we snuck up on them in 16.
Yep.
They're all
Yep. They're all aware
going to be
now.
lying in wait. Does President Trump, you think, have the energy and the focus to take on the administration?
I mean, he's going to say, what?
Because every day they're going to be trying to destroy him like they did in the first term. Don Jr.
Listen, he's the only one that can do it, right?
Yeah, go with that. Yeah. And everybody, please walk around CPAC the whole time telling everybody that any other Republican will fail miserably. Knock yourself the fuck out.
All right.
He's the only one that didn't need the job. He's the
Yeah, he did.
only one that was independently successful enough that he's not dependent on the big money donors on.
Yes, he is. The Russians through Deutsche Bank.
Both sides, by the way, right? Because don't forget,
because we're broke as fuck. I mean, the picture book did well, but obviously there were like overhead costs and advertising and extra expenses and like regional taxes on I didn't even know you had to need different UPC symbols for some states. Anyways,
like the Republican donor class, the Republican
the people that aren't getting this money.
side of big corporate, just as bad. They don't want to do what's right for the American people. They want to get the votes that way, and then we don't want to be too tough on China because we're getting our widget a little cheaper. We don't want to be too tough on the border because whatever reason.
Okay, so thanks, asshole. So the Republicans participate in the soft border policies, apparently. It's not Biden's total open border. Somehow it's the Republicans are to blame as well. And also, the rhinos are in China's pocket. Because cheap widgets. Because they act on behalf of business interests. Now, this is a complaint that many people have had about, jobs being shipped overseas, and the tax law being written by Republicans that allows them, a company, to write off the costs of training people's Chinese replacements or even their Mexican replacements. If they move their factory to Mexico, they can write that off as a business expense on the American taxpayer. That's a Republican thing. That was something that they argued for. They should have the right to do that because it's an expense, and all expenses are created equal, even if it fucks the country. Tough shit, Ayn Rand, bitches, right? But now, all of a sudden, once you get in bed with the populism, you gotta fuck.
That's the difference. That's what we need. We don't need someone who, whether it's major conservative media, whether major conservative corporations call.
Look at him trying to say it without saying it.
And says jump, they say how high. We want someone who is not beholden to them and only answers to the people. And Donald Trump's the only guy to do that, folks. It's
100%.
That's out.
100%. Yep. Nobody. Like Ron DeSantis, absolutely. Just owned by everybody.
100%. Trump. Hold on.
Yeah, it doesn't count if you start it, stupid.
Just mentioned something. I'm going to start with you and then go to 7 and
We're just going to, this is like a game show called Ignore the 16-Year-Old Girl Who Wandered in Here. She looks like she's in line at Starbucks and everybody got a mic but her.
And Natalie, it's obvious they are suppressing the coverage of President Trump by Fox News.
Oh, 100%.
Let's be brutal.
100%. Yeah.
They don't even want to, guys, they're not even letting it. They're suppressing him. They're not even pretending he doesn't even exist. They're just going, they're all in on it.
Look at President Trump changed history by going to East Palestine and forcing Norfolk Southern and the Biden administration, from Buttigieg to Michael Regan, the EPA director, and virtually no coverage on Fox. What do we have to do to get Fox to start focused? That they got to have a level?
Well, no, that's not fair. That, they did, for the record, I will say, Fox did talk about this. Hold on, sir. Yeah. Like that, it's unfair to say that Fox didn't discuss the fact that he went there. They just pointed out that he never went to derailment sites while he was president. Neither did Elaine Chao, even when people died. No one has died so far, and knock on wood, or particle board in this case. Hopefully no one will. But even when people did die during the Trump administration in train wrecks, they never went. Yeah. And they certainly did. Yeah, they certainly didn't wait 2.5 weeks to do it. They waited a lot longer.
Fire Paul Ryan.
Fire Paul Ryan.
No, but I'll tell you the story, right? You saw it. So Fox News put up something on their Instagram. Paul Ryan says he's not going to go to the RNC, even though it's in Wisconsin. And literally it was like, no one gives a... No one cares. And
I love how Bannon's War Room has to block out the word shit.
Comment said something. So I basically...
It's almost like we're watching Bongholio's Unfiltered.
Said that in a comment. My comment got 4,000 likes.
I'm so good.
Okay, in there that no one cares. And yet he's on the board. He's sending Rupert Murdoch messages. Those emails are coming back. He's trying to manipulate it. And not a single person in the Republican Party, at least not the MAGA Republican Party, which is what it's become,
right,
cares. So.
Yes, it has. It's become ultra MAGA. Uber maggots. That's what we like to call them. Uber maggots. The Uber maggots have taken over the asylum.
He is a thought leader of a party that doesn't exist anymore.
He's the thought leader of a party that no longer thinks. And that's got to be right.
He's the reason we don't have a wall. He's the reason we lose because...
Wait a minute. Did he stop Mexico? Did Paul Ryan stop Mexico from paying for the wall? What the shit?
They are not willing to fight the way the Democrats do. And if we go into this election...
Did you not hear Mike Pillow talk a second ago? You can't. One day voting, and if you can't, then they're going to steal the plastic prison bars. Pay attention.
Pretending that we're in some sort of fair fight, not against $1 trillion institution of big tech, $1 trillion in mainstream media, and weaklings like Paul Ryan. Who...
It's weird that... So, let me get this straight. The Republicans believe they are losing, not because their ideas suck, but because all of the successful industries want to continue being successful, and they think Republicans will stop that. So media, tech, corporations, the whole world, it's you and me against the world, Dad. The whole world is against them. All the greatest successes on the planet, the $1 trillion companies, the first $1 trillion companies, the multi-billion dollar corporate companies, the big tech sphere, they're against Republicans because they want Joe Biden to help them fail. What?
Just want to be loved by the clowns across the river. They want to be invited to the cool person party. He's not tough enough to stand up to his liberal wife. Whatever it may be, that's why we're losing, and it's because of people like him. We couldn't. You were there.
Wait, Trump lost in 20 because of Paul Ryan?
We could have had the wall in 16.
Yes.
He wasn't willing to bring it to the floor. Then they blame Trump. It wasn't Trump. It's his weakling.
Hold it. Billy Bush weekend for locker room banter. The first guy to throw candidate Trump under the bus that afternoon was Paul Ryan.
Yeah, it's a good idea in front of his son. Bring up that your dad said he likes to grab women by the pussy, especially with like a 16-year-old standing next to him. Locker room talk, indeed. Remember when your dad was a unclassy fuck who was talking about grabbing women by the crotch when he was married to your mom and after? Remember that stuff where he's like fucking around on your stepmom, your second stepmom? Remember that? When he was like, and the first guy, Paul Ryan, shits on him when all he's just talking about is how he can sexually assault women without asking. And, talk about that for a second.
Ryan.
Yeah. By the way, I'll say this for Steve, and I was in the room with you.
Well, but I will say this for Steve. I grab Steve by the pussy all the time.
Yeah. Like, let's just say that was a long day. It was a long day, but you
Why?
and me were the only people. Reince Priebus came up to him. Well, you can withdraw or you can lose bad. You and I
No,
looked at
not
each
lose
other.
bad. The biggest loss in presidential
He
history.
goes, you can just withdraw now. I go, you mean like 2 weeks before an election? No, again, I was nervous. That was like a Saturday. I guess Monday I was back on the road. And when I knew it didn't matter, I think I was in.
I knew it didn't matter when I met a bunch of Republican men who, and the women that were with them, who were like wearing handmade Trump can grab me by the pussy. When you've seen a large man from Wisconsin wearing that shirt, you know you're gonna be okay.
Bible Belt country. I think I was maybe in.
Yes, I was in Bible Belt country, and that's how I knew that if these fine people didn't give a shit that he bragged about sexually assaulting women, I knew we were going to be all
Indiana.
right.
And I gave a speech, and it was a little bit lackluster, not the usual Donald Trump Jr. high-energy speech.
Because there's just shitty blow. Was it cut with mannitol or whatever?
And it was because we'd been getting kicked in the all weekend.
In the pussy? Is that what it was? You've been just say it. You kept getting kicked in the pussy. Oh no, you were fine. Your pussy was fine, is what you're saying. Adorable.
And I'm like, man, maybe they're right. Maybe it's over. And a group of ladies came up to me
and said, and showed me their.
And they go, and I quote, "Sugar, my girlfriends and I had a conversation 7 times this week that was much worse than that. No one cares." And that's when I was like, oh, it's game on. No one cares. But you and I were in that.
No one cares.
Room. We're in my father's room at Trump Tower, sitting in the gold Trump Tower thing, and you.
The gold Trump Tower thing. The toilet, I think he means.
You and I were the only what do you mean we're going to give up? We're going to fight. Whatever. Maybe we lose, but we didn't get in this thing to not take it to the end.
100%
We were going to do that.
metaphysical certitude you're going to win because nobody cares. They're losing their country. They don't care about locker room banter. Here's the great thing about Trump. I said locker room banter. He says, no, locker room talk.
Yeah.
Our guys don't banter.
He changed it a little bit, made it his own, but that was yours. I'll give you credit.
They banter at Harvard and at University of Pennsylvania. They talk everywhere else. Seb.
Yeah, can I get the Media Matters guys' knickers in a twist?
Yeah, big.
No.
All right, so I'm going to give all the hobbits, the war room team, some ammunition. Do you think they're probably getting worried now, right? Okay, ammunition.
No, I think they stopped worrying when you said hobbits.
You think about the next 2 years.
Okay. Looks good. Yeah, I'm excited. A lot of singing, a lot of dancing, a lot of stand up. some acting. That'd be nice. This show. And Trump loses a primary and or another election.
Here's what you have to say about our nominee. When we have fathers of 7 who are having their homes raided.
Yeah, if you can't fuck your way out of jail, what kind of country is this? God damn it.
Amen.
Because they defended their 12-year-old son from a pro-abortion lunatic, and the FBI sicked on them with 20 agents in full body armor and loaded M4s.
Oh, you mean the guy who used his child as a human shield as he was shoving his way through and blocking people from exercising their rights?
I ask you this question.
Can you kick my ass?
Which candidate do you think is going to fix that?
Well, we haven't had another situation like that since, and certainly Trump didn't bail him out, so I'm going to go with none.
That's all you need.
I think your dude is fucked.
Hey, Seb,
Exactly.
how about the guy who the same FBI used their hostage rescue team, like the Navy SEALs of federal law enforcement, who usually deal with terrorists hijacking planes, to serve as...
They don't usually. I don't know. There haven't been a lot of... We haven't had a plane hijacking that involved hostages since what, the early 80s?
a search warrant.
Right.
Like that, because that doesn't happen unless
everybody does double duty, that they don't believe in having people who are just there. What do you guys do? We only do hostage rescue on airplanes based on terrorism. If it's a domestic dispute and the guy's just got a bomb like Sonny Bono in Airplane, that's not our business.
unless you're
Airplane 2.
trying to intimidate your political opponents, which of course they are, and we saw.
Or, and again, or these guys, these agents do their job, which includes a lot of things, including serving search warrants, which they do all the time. Which is why Florida is the only state where FBI agents have been murdered in the last, 30 years? 2 agents were serving a warrant on a child pornographer, and they were killed in Florida. Lovely place.
Merrick Garland yesterday. We don't know why that happened. Well, so you'll do that to just a good Christian pro.
Yeah, just a good Christian. Yeah, that's what it was. That was the only marker. I mean, he was, we just decided he was guilty. He didn't even have to be a good Christian. Just being Christian's enough of a crime. Get Mo, you go. But he was a good Christian. And by the way, that's probably why it's very smart for your dad to be a fake Christian, or at the very least a shitty Christian, because if you see what happens to good Christians, I think it's safer that way. I think it's a smart move.
Lifer, but
be just the worst Christian you can possibly be while still being able to use the name. I think that's a good strategy for Seb. It's a good strategy for your whole family, for Trump himself, certainly for Steve Bannon.
you won't do it to the
who's an absolute Darwinian atheist through and through.
tens of thousands of people that burn
Which is fine, as long as you're not lying about being Christian.
down buildings, that stole stuff in the name of social justice. All nonsense. Not an excuse to burn down a building. Not an excuse to murder. Not an
Right, which is why Biden said that people who do that kind of violence should go to jail, but it shouldn't also be mixed up with people who are part of a peaceful protest. They shouldn't be not allowed to protest because people do that.
excuse to do everything that they did because
January 6th. Oh, wait, sorry, we're talking about a different thing. Sorry.
it's a double standard.
Because Ginny Thomas paid for the bus? Oh, because you're talking about the George Floyd this summer, not the Capitol, obviously.
And we don't.
Because you're not, obviously, not just because your dad told them to go up there and he was going to go with them, and if they didn't listen, they were going to have to be stronger. They wouldn't have a country left. Again, they have to walk down there peacefully and patriotically. But once they get there, if they're not heard, obviously they're going to have to take it to the next level.
Equal justice under the law.
Seb's question is the most important question.
Yes. What am I doing here? And why are we not allowing this girl to speak?
Who has got the stamina, the stones, and the strength of character to take that on? Only
Kasich? I don't know.
one guy.
But see,
Donald J.
see,
Trump.
see, it's
By the
not
way,
just-
who's the only only guy that'll get us out of this damn World War III situation as well.
Trump.
Remember, the guy that was supposed to get us into World War III, according to all the geniuses in the media.
Just teed it up. Yeah. He was supposed to kneecap NATO so that in his second term, Putin could just take Ukraine and Trump could go, well, it's his country anyways. I don't even know why it's a problem. And China could take Taiwan and he could go, well, if you listen to them, it's part of their thing. And they just did a trade deal with me and I like them. But after COVID, he's like, I don't like them anymore.
Media is the only guy that kept us out of it, and the only guy trying to get us out of it now.
The Ayatollah.
The only guy trying to get us out of it now. How? 2 videos? How's he trying? He has Putin's direct number. Make a fucking phone call, dum-dum.
In Tehran, the KGB in Moscow, the criminals in Beijing, the folks in Pakistan, Erdogan in Turkey, Mini-Me in North Korea. They not only respect Donald Trump, more importantly, wait for it, they fear Donald Trump. Let's hear it. Is it Trump?
Is it Trump? When I said fear, you guys are supposed to cheer for fear. That's the Cheers for Fears. That's the name of my cover group where I just do awful renditions of good songs. Fear, yeah. Just do the Trump thing. Dude, they're not doing it. I don't know. Do we have to get? Is this a bunch of DeSantis people? Motherfucker.
Sure.
Yes, I clearly see the future of the country. This is, I believe the children are our future.
Commercial break room.
This is like the fucking Village.
Back, Seb Gorka, Natalie Winters, and Don Jr. in the war room.
Really? You gotta auto-tune notes that low, asshole? What the fuck is this, by the way? Is this a music video that plays during their... Ugh. Hi, it's Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. Like, subscribe, thumbs up, support the show. Let me know you're there. They post this shit. We go through the whole goddamn thing. Shit. Good Lord.